a professor and University Distinguished Teaching Scholar at Colorado State University School of Education. He focuses mainly on teaching within the Organizational Learning, Performance, and Change program. He also serves as the director of the Center for the Analytics of Learning and Teaching, a research center at CSU dedicated to using analytics to drive innovation in teaching and learning. James earned his PhD in Educational Human Resource Development from Texas A&M in 1996. His passion lies in scientifically exploring how technology can effectively enhance learning, training, and high-impact learning practices. I'll be keeping an eye on chat today, so if you have questions, go ahead and put them in chat, and by the end of the session, maybe we'll have some time to explore some questions. So with that, James, take it away.
Great. Thank you so much for the introduction. I don't really need to say anything else on this slide. I am in the School of Education, and I'll have my contact information at the end if you want to reach out to me. I'm presenting today on an application. It's a software tool and a pedagogical process called UBehavior. We've been working on this for quite a while, probably 6 years. And I'm just going to kind of walk through and explain what that is, and then I'll leave time for Q&A at the end for sure to answer some of the questions. So I like to start by talking about the ineffective study habits of students, and the fact that our research has shown time and time again when we look into classes and we look at the data behind the Canvas learning management system, when we give students the opportunity to practice time and time again, we see a staggering about 90% of the students fail to engage in study methods that foster long-term learning. And to illustrate this, consider this scenario. This is an actual graph of a student's practice or study behavior. When presented with a specific study activity, which is depicted here as an example in the blue diamond, the students in multiple classes we've looked at repeatedly practice that particular study activity. And these are quizzes in Canvas. They practice that activity repeatedly over and over again until they get to 100%, and then they seldom revisit that material. Herein lies the problem. When students stop practicing, they begin to forget. Whoops, let me go back. They begin to forget. So they, and then you think about it and you fast forward to the final exam, which could be over 100 days later, and much of what they initially had learned in this particular activity has been forgotten. So they can't retrieve it. They don't have access to it in the final exam. This cycle of forgetting sort of underscores an urgency that we've been working on, and that is promoting a new or different approach to studying, one that prioritizes durable long-term learning outcomes. And that's what UBehavior has been designed to target. And we get students to basically change their behaviors away from what we consistently see. So UBehavior is designed to basically guide or coach students and transform their study behaviors. Specifically, we coach students to adopt 2 highly effective study behaviors, spaced practice and mixed retrieval practice, which have pretty much universally been shown to enhance long-term durable learning. Instead of cramming all of their practice into one day, like we saw in the previous slide and you see here on the left, we coach them to space and intermix their practice, as you see here on the right. So this student on the right is distributing their practice of the activity over weeks and months. And this shift in study behavior serves as a powerful antidote to forgetting and cultivates what we're after, which is this durable, long-lasting learning. And when we implement UBehavior in classes, we we typically see about 75 to 85% of the students changing their study habits. So what impact does this change in behavior have on grades? Consistently, as we put it into different classes, we have collected data and observed a marked improvement in grades, with a notable shift towards A's and B's among students who adopt the new study practices, which are the students indicated here by the dark blue bars. The blue bars are the students who have engaged in the practices that we're coaching. So you can see that shift. And time again, we've recorded a significant increase of about 1 letter grade difference in performance on the final exams. That's a Cohen's D of about 0.65 we consistently have observed. It's clear that students who embrace the new behaviors sort of outshine those who stick with the old behaviors depicted in the yellow bars. So by implementing U behavior, you'll notice a reduction in the number of students receiving D's, F's, and W's. So those getting D's, those earning F's, and withdrawing from the class are basically failing. And we're seeing this even in some of the most difficult courses on our campus. So an illustration of this, let's take a look at the course Principles of Human Physiology. This course historically has been renowned for its difficulty on our campus. It's one of the most difficult courses as far as passing goes. Lots of students getting D's, F's, and W's, and that's what you see graphed here. And since integrating U behavior in the spring of 2023, we've observed remarkable reductions in D's, F's, and students who withdraw from the course, basically failures. You can see that in the graph here, right in here. So based on this historical data, we've calculated and witnessed approximately 100 more students successfully passing this course compared to the previous 5-year average. So that's a really nice impact. At CSU, we are coaching over 2,000 students each semester using U behavior in a variety of subjects, which are listed here, helping them pass some of these extremely difficult courses. We target courses that have high DFW rates, and repeatedly we see these sorts of effects. By our calculations, we are helping approximately 250 students succeed in each semester, getting through some of these difficult courses and helping them move forward toward completing their degrees. U behavior has helped in computer science, geology, psychology, physiology, 2 physiology courses we have it in now. We have had it in a physics course and a microbiology course. I like to collect some quotes as we've moved along with U behavior, but this is Dr. McLean, who teaches microbiology, stated that we are seeing an increase in performance on the final exams and students reporting feeling less overwhelmed and more prepared about the course material. So faculty are extremely positive about this as they see the boosts in change in practice behavior and then performance. So let me explain the U behavior coaching method a little bit, how some of the mechanics and how it works. A key component of the U behavior method is the graphing tool. You can see the tool listed here in Canvas let me grab the pointer here, in the menu on the left-hand side. There's a tool called U behavior, and students can click on it and it brings up the graph that you see here on the right-hand side. The tool is like a Fitbit or activity tracker for study behavior. When a student practices an activity, you can see an activity here represented by the red dot. On a given day, here it's about on day 7, the activity is graphed, so it's put on the graph. This graph is available as a record of each student's study behavior, and they can view it at any time. So it's, like I said, it's like a Fitbit for study behavior. So like a tracker for changing physical activity, this learning behavior graph is used to coach students towards using spaced and mixed retrieval practice. So one of the nice things about that we kind of realized or were led to is that we see a lot of students starting off quickly. They get a quick start to this type of study behavior, and that is really important, because in order to get the boost for spaced and mixed practice, you need to start early, because the boost comes if you practice across time, as you space out that study behavior and you basically arrest forgetting. So we hear comments from students that similar to this one. I'm not proud of this by any means, but typically I would start studying the day before the exam, or of the exam or before the exam, and UBehavior was coaching me to look back at previous materials ahead of time. So it's guiding them and coaching them towards a more optimal study practice. How do we coach students more holistically? I showed you the tool on the last slide, but how do they get coached? We coach students throughout the entire semester. So first we provide each student with a 10-minute tutorial, which you see over here, on the what, why, and how of UBehavior learning process. So it basically explains them what they're going to be doing during the semester and how it will guide them through some study practice. And this includes information on how the students, or how they will earn points on their practice. And then second, the students are provided access to authentic practice activities in Canvas. So these are essentially Canvas quizzes. We call them retrieval practice activities because we're trying to get away from the idea of it being a quiz. It's not about necessarily testing your knowledge as sort of a summative test. It's more about practice to see if you can retrieve it at that point in time. And so these are authentic activities, and they're designed by the instructor so that they're targeted at the objectives of the course. Third, the students can review their UBehavior graph and see how they practiced, and they can review how they've been practicing at any point during the semester. It's on demand. And then fourth, we have students complete some automated reflections that help them or coach them and reinforce the behavior, the target behaviors of spaced and mixed retrieval practice. So it coaches them 2 times during the semester, and if they need to correct their practice behavior, it gives them an opportunity to do that. So that's kind of the coaching process, what the students go through. So we know that UBehavior outperforms other high impact learning methods on 2 critical dimensions, and we like to we've been laying it out this way to sort of explain that. But we've looked at flipped classroom research and on these 2 dimensions, which are sort of behavior change, which is really critical to sort of getting a boost from these types of practices or these types of methods. So and so that's one dimension, and the other dimension is performance and impact on grades on these comprehensive longer term exams. So when we looked at the literature, flipped classrooms, it outperforms on these dimensions. When we looked at adaptive learning systems, it outperforms. Competency-based education models, it's outperforming. And then flashcard systems, it's outperforming as well. So UBehavior excels at coaching students and getting them to take the initiative to change their study behaviors. And that has a pretty nice boost on performance on these longer term learning measures like comprehensive exams. So sort of a summary, UBehavior is pretty we felt it's a really unique Canvas application specifically dedicated to coaching students to change their practice behavior. We have repeated evidence of significant behavior change. The behavior change on the change in behavior effects are very large. Cohen's d of 1.2 is pretty typical of what we see, and really nice boost in grade performance, about a letter grade difference, or a Cohen's d between a 0.65 and a 0.7. In that really difficult physiology course, we had a really nice Cohen's d effect of around a 0.75, so even larger. So we are dedicated to bringing faculty along, helping them build authentic practice activities that really are focused on their objectives. So that's another key, I think, element of the U-Behavior method. In addition, U-Behavior is now as a hosted solution. We're experimenting with this hosted solution at Unizin. This means that U-Behavior will integrate into your IT system more easily, I guess. So that's exciting. It also will allow for cross-institutional analysis at some point and research, so we can compare performance in various classes. There's lots of exciting reasons why this sort of hosted relationship with Unizin is exciting. Another would be that we could share practice activities in some of these challenging STEM courses, which would be great. What we do at CSU, we typically like to onboard faculty during the summer if we're moving into the fall, or moving into winter break if we're looking at the spring semester. And then faculty members would then begin using it in those semesters and use it the entire semester. And then what we do with our faculty is we generate a performance report that gives them evidence that it's working in their class, so they can see basically comparisons of exam results and practice behavior, and make that comparison directly in their classes. And that's been really this is what one of those performance reports typically looks like. I'll explain it here in a minute, but that's really been a great benefit to the faculty members for a number of different reasons. But the graph looks like this. This right here is the sort of the low end of the U-Behavior practice activity. So you can see that in this particular semester, we had about 25% of the students who didn't change their behavior. They sort of stuck to low practice or sort of repeated practice on the same day. And then up here is the high U-Behavior type practice, where they're spacing out their practice across weeks and months, and they're also interleaving the practice. So they're in this sort of high level. And then on the red line is the comprehensive means on the comprehensive final exam. So you can see the group that had low practice behaviors was around a 62, and in the high practice behavior, the mean was around a 77. So we like to give this graph to faculty members. For one, they can put it into their portfolio for evaluation at the end of the year related to teaching, and it gives them evidence that they're implementing pedagogical methods that are impacting students. So that's one thing that we're doing at CSU that seems to be very well received by the faculty. And then the other thing that faculty have been doing with this particular report is they will take it into another semester. So a subsequent semester, they'll take it in and they'll actually talk about it with their students in some of these difficult classes, encouraging students to start changing their behavior or thinking about changing their behavior in ways that they're being coached to do in U-Behavior, and showing them that this has an impact on performance on these these challenging exams that they're going to face at the end of the semester. Like I just put this slide in here, but we have multiple semesters following in microbiology, physiology, and repeated evidence that we're seeing the same trend. When students change their practice behavior, the exams move upward, about a letter grade difference in performance. So it's really encouraging. And we've never had a faculty member who's really dropped U behavior after they've implemented it into their classrooms. So that is it for my formal presentation. I have some contact information here. You can get a hold of me. Right now, we're working on sort of a corporate entity that can help serve institutions beyond Colorado State University. So if your institution if you're a faculty member, or if you're affiliated with an institution and have communications or contact with administrators who might be interested in this type of approach to impacting student performance in these challenging courses, you can reach out to me and we can talk about it from sort of a corporate and helping your faculty members on board, figuring out how to use U behavior and use the tool that is being hosted at Unizin. So I'll stop there and see if there are questions.
Thanks, James. I did see Jen Ryder had a hand up. Let me see, Jen, if I can invite you to stage here and you can ask your questions. So I think I just sent you an invite. Jen for a moment here to see if that worked or not. Or you can always use the live stage button on the right and ask a question in chat there. Always more fun to try to do live questions, get people on stage. Okay.
Not working?
Maybe not. Maybe we'll try Jen again here in a moment. I see another hand up. So, Sydney, let's see if we can invite you to the stage. So I just tried to invite you to the stage, Sydney.
Okay, all right.
Hi, Sydney.
That worked. Hi there. I have a couple questions. We have some of our large enrollment STEM courses, and they are beginning to experiment with a platform called STEM Fluency.
Mm-hmm.
One of the big aspects of the appeal of that platform is a built-in question banks.
Mm-hmm.
They're already quite large.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was wondering, with U behavior, one thing that I really like about what you're doing is making the practice explicit to students.
Yeah.
So it could spill over into other classes.
Mm-hmm.
But I was wondering on the back end, is it also dependent on large question banks within Canvas then?
Mm-hmm.
And then like the multiple choice type, single question type quizzes, because it sounds like it could be applied in, say, non-STEM courses, provided the question type was appropriate.
Yes. Yeah. So great questions. Yes. So we part of that onboarding period that I talked about, there's typically 2.5, 3 months that we try to onboard faculty members. We're working with them to develop pools of questions that are appropriate for their classes.
Okay.
We've developed, part of our methodology is we developed a process for working with students or faculty and in coaching them in how to develop decent questions, because we realized that was one of the challenges on our. We have a pretty nice templated process for that, and then we also have been leaning heavily now on ChatGPT and various AI models to do derivative questions, and it's been very powerful and has accelerated our process for getting those pools together immensely. So we will then have faculty members, or sometimes we'll hire a student underneath that faculty member on an hourly rate to basically review those derivatives and make sure that they seem appropriate. So we've been doing that. So it does rely on sort of that upfront onboarding and lift from the faculty members to engage in that process. Now, I will say that most of our faculty members like having their hands on that. They like knowing what questions they're asking of their students and making sure they're targeted. So at first, I was looking for other pools of questions. Bart and I have even talked about, pools of questions that are out there that we could potentially use. But what I've found is that when we try to bring stuff like that together with a faculty member and set in like a microbiology, is that they want to review all those anyway. So we have developed this process that seems to resonate with faculty members, and they tend to like sort of walking through and developing. Yeah.
All right. Thank you. I guess I still have some questions about coding the back end, like if the practice can be tied to specific concepts or if it's just overall, if you use assignment groupings or something like that to.
Yeah. So that's great. Let me answer that. So we build these things and we call them retrieval practice activities. We build them around key critical concepts or learning objectives that the faculty is trying to deliver upon, right? So those pools of questions are usually centered around those concepts or those learning objectives. And then we'll have multiple RPAs that the students are engaging with and practicing. And that's what they're essentially spacing out and that's what they're interleaving.
Okay. Thank you. Looks like you have a lot of questions coming in here, or at least a couple more.
Great.
Thanks, Sydney. I think, Jennifer, you may still have access to that button. You can go ahead and hit accept.
She's there.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Perfect. Yep.
Awesome. Hi, James. I'm
Hi.
Jen Ryder. I'm at Fort Lewis College in Durango.
Hey, awesome. Good to meet you.
Somewhat neighbor.
Yeah.
I'm working with teams of faculty as part of a large Department of Ed grant that focuses on digital learning tools to close equity gaps in our entry-level courses. And I'm curious, your examples talk about science courses. I'm curious if you've seen any success stories in remedial or introductory math courses.
That's a great question. I wish I could say that we have evidence that in those spaces, but we are right now onboarding our intro remedial math courses. So we're designing practice activities in these courses at CSU, and we're looking at ways where we can get students practicing not only across these sort of we sort of have these remedial math modules at CSU, and which is, I guess, somewhat typical, but they tend to take those modules and then stop out completely from practicing that stuff ever, So we're trying to break away from that and get them to practice these things long term and take that stuff into the classes where they're going to need it, right? So we're really working on sort of a unique model that's going to break us away from those modules. So we should stay in touch because I think we can learn from each other for sure.
I'll circle back to you. I imagine that'll be in the fall, yes, that you'll implement those?
Yes, we're going to be looking at it in the fall.
Okay, great. I'll circle back. Great to meet you.
Nice to meet you, Jennifer.
So I see a few other questions coming in chat here from Anna. Anna asks, how many Canvas quizzes do instructors need to make?
Okay, so we typically ask faculty members to concentrate on between 8 and 10 retrieval practice activities. Those can have multiple objectives within them that they want students to practice on. And then when it comes to questions within those 8 to 10 retrieval practice activities, you will typically have maybe 15 to 20 questions in each one of those RPAs. So that kind of gives you an estimate on the numbers of questions that we're asking faculty to develop. We have the method, we've designed this method which really gets the faculty to create a STEM question or a primary question that targets the objective. And then we take it from there, either with their student and have the student generate derivatives or parallel questions off of that question, or we jump in and start using ChatGPT to do derivatives and parallel questions. So the faculty member is concentrating on designing that really good STEM question, and then we sort of take it from there, and then we loop them back in.
Interesting. That was actually going to be my question. The whole, that seems to be the biggest barrier, is generating a lot of questions. And it's wonderful that there are now some tools out there that can at least speed that up a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So there's another question from Jane that's similar, but I wonder if there's probably a broader answer to this. What's the minimum commitment you require from faculty members to onboard into UBehavior?
Can you expand on that question? Minimum commitment as to what? Sorry.
Yeah, I'll wait for Jane to maybe add some things, but I'll throw one thing in here. Do you require sort of like workshops beforehand, things along those lines, that they need to attend X number of question writing sessions or those kind of things?
No, we don't. So as far as question writing goes, we just dive right in with them and get them to think about what those primary objectives are, right? That they really want to make sure that students have at their fingertips when they move into that comprehensive final exam. What are those things they really must have, right? And we first have just a session on that and talk through that with them and get them to design those. And then we just have them start writing questions based on our template that we have that gives some guidelines. And we might refine and help them refine that first couple STEM questions. But it's more of a working session than, hey, let's take a ton of your time to educate you on this stuff, right? It's a working session, practical working session to just get the work done. As far as I typically do the introductory session with a faculty member, and I can typically do that in about a half an hour, and I can convince them that they typically are convinced that this seems to really be a good tool and a good method to get my students to change their practice behavior, because most faculty members have a really big pain point, and that pain point is that students don't practice, right? They don't engage in the way that they really want them to, and they know it. Faculty members know that students are cramming all the time, and they would certainly prefer that they would like to capture their attention more and place their attention on the target objectives and get them to retain information longer. I mean, if you're not focused on that, on getting students to retain information longer term, I don't know really what the objective is in your class. I mean, if you're just going to have students cram and forget, then that seems very short term, in my opinion. So I think faculty members know that they just see this, and it resonates with them. They want to change their students' behavior.
Yeah. Easy sales pitch, right?
Yeah, it is kind of an easy sales pitch. Yeah.
Sydney asked, what do students see? Do they have the UBehavior specific interface or dashboard? I know you showed some interfaces earlier. Maybe I'm not sure if any of those were student facing or if those were all instructor facing visualizations.
Okay, that's a great question. Let me go back here to my presentation. So the students basically are getting this graph. Okay, so this is a student-facing tool. This is the tool that they're going to use to basically see their practice activity. So they're getting that. They have the access to that all semester. They can open it up. The second that, a second after they practiced an activity, their activity is going to show up on the graph. And then they get this 10-minute tutorial, which I talked about a little bit. They get the practice activities. Here's the graphing tool again. And then they get some reflection activities, which are coaching activities around behavior. So that's essentially what they get during the semester.
Okay, I think that is all the questions we have at the moment.
Great.
If you have a question, feel free to pop it into chat or feel free to raise your hand. Give it a minute or two here. All right, I'm not seeing, let me do one more final look here. I don't see any more hands up. I don't see anything in chat, so I think we're done a few minutes early. Well, thank you very much, James. I appreciate you sharing your time and learning more about behavior.
Yeah, thanks, Bart.
Thanks, everyone. We have another session starting here in about 20 minutes, so hopefully we'll see soon.